Taylor and Polly here from Beaten Jeans, and today we're talking to Melissa, and she just celebrated her 5-year gastrectomy. So we are so excited to talk to her, and this is our first interview in a while. It's almost like we've forgotten.
Right. Happy New Year to you all. I hope you guys had a good New Year's and a good holiday season.
Strong babe. There we go. Okay. So her name is Stomachless Strong Babe. After her to hear all of her secrets on how she looks so good too.
Right. Staying healthy, working out.
Oh, here she is.
Hi.
Hi, Melissa.
Hi.
Good. How are you?
How are you?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Good. I'm so excited to be
I know,
here.
and
So
we
thank you for having me.
We had to keep rescheduling. I'm so sorry. The flu ran rampant in our house. So thank you for being
Oh, no problem.
being so willing to work with our schedule.
Of course. I hope everyone's feeling healthy and better now.
On the mend.
Yeah.
I don't know how I didn't catch it from her, but I didn't.
I know.
Crazy.
So tell us where do you live? Where are you coming from? Okay.
So I live in Arlington, Virginia, and I've been here forever, like 25 years now. So I'm originally from Massachusetts, but I consider this area home.
I love Virginia.
I lived in Centerville for
where are
about
you
a
guys?
year, so I'm familiar with that area.
Oh,
Nice.
cool.
You guys are probably cold right
Not
now,
far.
huh?
Today
whoa.
is 65 degrees.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of
So
freaky,
out
actually.
of the ordinary. It's warmer than here.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we're from Albuquerque.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Gosh.
Yeah,
Here,
I know. It's
then
like
Albuquerque?
35 degrees out right now.
Wow.
Yeah, it was snowing yesterday. It was freezing.
Oh, wow. Oh, gosh. Yeah. Wow. Climate change definitely happening.
All right. So we're going to do what we always do, and we're going to have you take us back to the beginning with how you found out that you had CDH1 or how it started in your family, and we'll go from there.
Sure. So my mom very suddenly got sick with what she thought was food poisoning, but turned out to be stage 4 stomach cancer in September of 2008. And her sister had died just a year or two before of stomach cancer at the same age. My mom was 55 and her sister had been 55 the 2 years before. So my mom died actually in January of 2009. Her battle was really short and really hard. But around that time, there were a couple things going on. The law was such that we suspected we had a genetic condition. We had just started to hear about the CDH1 mutation. But the law was such that if you had a pre-existing condition, which a genetic mutation is, you could lose your health insurance. So she passed away, and my brother and I decided to talk to our doctors, and we didn't want to risk losing our health insurance. There were some other people on my mom's side of the family who had died of stomach cancer as well. They're all in Lebanon, and we had some cousins here in the US who also had stomach cancer. And so we started piecing things together. And our doctors just said, we'll do colonoscopies and endoscopies for you because we don't want to find out you have the gene and then you lose your insurance. So we did that for several years, and my first colonoscopy endoscopy, I think I was like 36 years old, I had 5 precancerous polyps that were removed on the spot. So I was like, oh gosh, this could be bad. So fast forward. I can't remember now if it was colon or stomach. I think it was colon, which was really odd. And so we thought my mother's brother had died of colon cancer in Lebanon, when he was 42. And I found out later that he had stomach cancer. So I don't know if they're related, but that was sort of like a weird fluke that kind of brought it home that this is something I'm going to have to address. So fast forward several years, a couple of things happened. I was married at the time, doing genetic testing as part of IVF to try to have a baby, which that part didn't work out. But and they don't test for a CDH1 mutation, but it got me thinking about it. And that same year I traveled to Lebanon, and that's when I met a lot of my family on my mom's side. And just hearing how many people had died of stomach cancer, I was like, oh my gosh, I should really get tested. And my dad was encouraging me to get tested. And we also found out the law had changed, and you wouldn't lose your health insurance if you had pre-existing conditions. So in spring of 2017, my brother and I both got tested. I went first, tested positive. He went second, tested positive, and we both had our stomachs removed. His was in September, and I did mine in
back
November
to back
of
together to have
2017.
that support system. That's nice.
Is your brother older or younger than you?
So he's 2 years younger, but he's taller and bigger. And he, we had our surgeries done two months and 400 miles apart, because he's in the Boston area. But we talked every day, and I was so grateful. I didn't have this Instagram community. I just discovered this, honestly, and it's been a blessing. But I'm so grateful that my brother and I had each other to talk to. And
You
just
need
bounce
that,
ideas
because
off
can start like playing tricks, like, oh
Is
God,
this
there's something
normal?
seriously wrong with me. But when it could just be normal, the recovery, right?
Yeah, it was helpful, but our recoveries were vastly different. And we were warned that everyone's recovery is different, and even with foods, everything's trial and error. My brother had a textbook smooth recovery. God bless him. I'm so happy for him. He didn't throw up once that first year, whereas I was throwing up like 5 times a day, not to be all gross. But I was just really struggling, and I ended up having a blocked intestine, and I had to have an emergency surgery 3 months after my stomach removal. And thankfully, my brother had such a smooth recovery. So it was helpful because we could support each other, but it was also, it just confirmed that it's such a unique surgery, and everyone's recovery journey is so different. And some of us have multiple setbacks. Some of us have none. I kind of fell in the middle. Sorry, there's an ambulance going by.
Did your doctors do your surgeries differently?
Right.
Like, was yours open or closed? Like, what were the difference between you and your brother as far as your surgeries went?
We both had open surgeries. I had looked into robotic surgery. I have some cousins in Massachusetts who had done that option about a year before I did my surgery. But I couldn't find any doctors that were comfortable doing that here in the DC area that fell within my insurance. And my brother's was open too. Both of our doctors were very experienced in doing open surgery stomach removals, which is hard to find. I think my surgeon had done like
full
20
total
or something,
gastrectomies,
which
yeah,
to
that
me,
is hard to find.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, and including on someone my age who was doing it for prophylactic reasons. So it was helpful to know that he had that.
Where did you have your
experience.
surgery?
MedStar here in Washington, D.C.
And so you said that you had a blockage.
They were great.
How does that happen? Did the doctor tell you, or is that just like a fluke, or what causes that?
Oh man. I went to look at my medical records because I can't remember, and I have no notes. Like, I have no papers from that hospital stay. It was an emergency. I remember I had been vomiting bile, and it was like 3 days before. And I was under a lot of stress at that time in my household and trying to go back to work, and I really wasn't feeling well. So I just thought, oh, I'm just really stressed, and I just have to watch what I'm eating and drinking. But I ended up in the emergency room, and they admitted me. I made them do the nasal gastro tube because I didn't want to have another surgery. My scar had been healing beautifully, and I didn't want to be opened up again, and I wasn't planning to be in the hospital again. So the nasal tube did not work, and I ended up being admitted, and I stayed there for 8 days. I don't know what caused it. My doctors later said it's not like I did anything wrong, and sometimes these things happen. I personally think I had, I was under a lot of stress. I was I was married before, and I was separating from my husband at that time. And it was like really stressful in my house. And I just think that, plus I just wasn't, my recovery was hard. And I just think I had a lot of stress and I just couldn't keep anything
Yeah,
down.
definitely.
I don't think it
Stressful
helped,
type
but it
part.
could have
That's
been
a lot to go through with a
That's
surgery
so
like that.
much. That's so sad. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah, it's okay. I feel like you go through hard
Mhm.
stuff and it makes you stronger. It sounds cheesy, but you're like, oh my God, I totally got through
Yeah.
that. It wasn't easy, but
What doesn't kill you makes you
yeah.
stronger. That's
So,
do you
So
right?
how do you heal a blockage? Do they just give you like stool softeners? Is that the kind of blockage that it was?
No, no, they reopened my scar, just the bottom half. The surgeon that was there that day was not my regular surgeon. He was out of the country, and I was heartbroken to have like a whole different surgeon at a whole different hospital. He suspected the blockage was in the lower part of my stomach, so he only opened up like the bottom. The scar was like 6 or 7 inches, maybe 8 inches long, and he only opened up the bottom like 3 inches, and that's where the blockage was. So he basically removed something, and something must have gotten twisted, and he reconnected everything. I think there was a twisting. Yeah, so it needed a whole new surgery, and it kind of set me back about a month in my recovery as far as like eating solid foods again. And just like I had gained a little weight and then I lost it again. And yeah, so and then he didn't even stitch up the scar as pretty as the first surgeon. So I was like, oh, come on.
I saw in one
No,
of
but it's
your
okay.
videos on your Instagram that you have like you were showing pictures of your scar and that there was like a bump. Did that happen from the second surgery and him cutting you again? Okay. And how is
Yeah,
that today?
yeah, that was. It's still there. I don't know that there's anything I can do about it. I am turning 50 this year, so I want to do some stuff. Like, so I might just, I don't know, see if there's stuff that I can do for my skin. But it's an adhesion. I did try to see if I could do a scar revision. My insurance didn't think it was worth it, and they weren't going to cover it. And then I went to a private doctor, and he said that the odds of it happening again for me are quite high. So it's just there. It's like a little bump, and sometimes it looks like a second belly button. So I just joke that I have two
I
belly
can't believe you're
buttons.
50. You look amazing.
I know you do.
You look so good. That's what I want to know is like,
Thank you.
how are you so fit? Like, were you always this way even before your surgery?
Thank you. Yes, I was a certified fitness instructor when I went to law school. That was sort of my part-time job, and I've always been really into weightlifting and running and exercising. And honestly, like the weightlifting I was skin and bones, and that like as soon as I was able to carry stuff, I actually did a Spartan race 6 months after my stomach removal. Yeah, I couldn't pick up, there's some heavy weights, and I couldn't carry more than 25 pounds. So I had to skip a few of the obstacles because I couldn't actually carry anything. Yeah. And I had new stitches too from the surgery that was just a few months prior. But yeah, I was always into fitness, and it really helped me. The weightlifting especially really helped me. But now it's great. My relationship with food is so much healthier. That was not so healthy my whole life. Now I just eat to sustain. I eat really healthy. I'm not afraid of complex carbs. I used to not eat any carbs, but we actually need them if we don't have a stomach. We need that complex carb to keep our blood sugar stable, which I learned just this past year. So yeah, I'm just grateful that I was able to get back into the gym and
when you
put
say
a little muscle
complex
back
carbs,
on.
are you talking like bread and rice and stuff like that, or fruit?
So I've learned that you need a fat, a protein, and a complex carb with every meal. And the complex carbs that work for me are brown rice, not white rice. White rice, I could eat it in the beginning. So you know how you're just trying to get any food down? It was just like 2019 and 2020. So like years 3 and 4, I thought I was doing okay, but I really wasn't. I kind of went back to my pre-life diet where I didn't eat any carbs, and I ate sometimes I would have sushi with white rice, or sometimes I would have a slice of pizza and eat the crust, but it wasn't often. And I was back to drinking orange juice and all that, and it was just messing with my blood sugar. It was awful. The complex carbs that really work now for me are quinoa, brown rice. There's some whole grain pastas, or like chickpea pastas, chickpeas. So I basically add one of those four things to every little meal or snack that I prepare, and it made all the difference. It changed the dump. It's practically eliminated dumping syndrome for me, which I had it so
Really?
bad for so
So
many
you
years.
just started experimenting with what kind of food should I start trying to make this stop? Did you have a feeling like it was food related?
Did you have a nutritionist?
No, actually, it was such a crazy saga. I don't know that I got the best post-total gastrectomy care. Like 5 years out, I'm realizing, okay, as far as after your surgical follow-ups and all that, there wasn't a lot of dietary instruction that I got. Maybe just a pamphlet that I misplaced, and a couple of appointments with a nutritionist, but I kind of forgot. So I was doing a lot of things wrong for a long time, and I ended up wearing a Dexcom, like a glucose monitor, and the Freestyle Libre, like the things the diabetics use, because my blood sugar was crashing 5 or 6 times a day. And I would go to my doctors, and they never said, oh, you should check with your nutritionist, you don't have a stomach. They were just like, oh, well, let's put you on a monitor and let's do that. Yeah. It was just kind of weird. Like I'm realizing now that I didn't get that best nutritional follow-up care. And, I was busy too. And I was just like, oh gosh, am I diabetic now? And really I wasn't. It was the way I was eating. So by dumb luck, I didn't have my surgery at the NIH, but I'm part of a study there, and I'm supposed to provide my medical records once a year. And I had been delinquent in doing that. And someone called me from the NIH about a year ago and said, oh, we're just calling to follow up. We want to get some of your medical records. And I said, oh, okay, great. I'll get to that. But do you have a nutritionist that I can talk to? Can someone please call me? And they had, her name is Rachel Lopez. She's a nutritionist at the NIH. I had a couple of appointments with her. She changed my life. She changed my life in like a 45-minute phone call. She had me keep a 2-week diary. Yeah, I mean, she like redlined my 2-week food diary and sent it back to me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I thought I was eating healthy, but really I was eating healthy for someone with a stomach. I was eating deadly for someone without a stomach. So she's the one who told me, you got to skip the orange juice in the morning. I was doing the juice in the morning because I was taking a gazillion vitamins. I didn't even know that I was supposed to be taking a bariatric vitamin. So she told me all that. She's the one who told me about protein waters, which I buy a lot of protein water now, and they help me so much. Especially because sometimes I can't drink water, like plain water. Sometimes it's hard to get down.
Rachel is incredible.
So she told me about brown rice.
She is like an angel in the community, I swear. She's got all the secrets.
She's amazing.
It's surprising to me because we've heard so many people who haven't had their surgeries done at like NIH, and they experience the same thing where they don't set them up with a nutritionist afterwards, and they're just sort of blindly trying to figure it out for themselves. And
I felt like I was flying blind for a while, and maybe I could have pressed more with my own insurance. But I have Kaiser, and they're wonderful, and they are all about preventative medicine. So they're like genetic testing, yes. Having your stomach removed even before you think you have cancer, yes. They're all for those things. But I just don't know that they were equipped to have a nutritionist whose specialty is dealing with people without stomachs. So I just didn't know how to go from there. But I thank God for Rachel, because it was just a few small tweaks, and I started feeling better immediately. I couldn't believe it. Like the dumping syndrome now, it might happen twice a week as opposed to 5 times a day. So it's
you must have been miserable.
Yeah. I was miserable. I couldn't work out. I was dizzy half the time. I I'm an attorney, so I do a lot of speaking and a lot of critical thinking for my job, and I would just lose my train of thought constantly. It was embarrassing. I just have to keep really good notes, or apologize and say, oh, I'm so sorry, my blood sugar crashed. I'll turn to one of my employees, can you finish that point, and just kind of hope that one of them understood what I was trying to say.
4 years you were experiencing that? Oh, thank goodness you asked about Rachel.
The first, yeah, it was really 2 years that it was bad. The first 2 years, I don't remember feeling, I had a few dumping syndrome incidents, but for me, I just felt kind of low energy all the time. So it was hard to distinguish a dumping syndrome incident from like just normal tiredness. It was 2019 and 2020 where I had a lot of energy when I felt good and I could do stuff, but then all of a sudden I would be useless for 4 hours. And that was and so those 2 years were really
would last you that long?
I didn't know what
dumping?
was wrong.
4 hours?
Because so I would crash so low, like because I was wearing the blood sugar monitors, I would crash into like 39, which is really low, or like 40s, and it wipes you out. I would then have to sleep and lay down for a few hours after. So it was a little rough, but I'm so grateful I've gotten that under control. And alcohol, actually, the hardest thing, I do miss my white wine. But man, that was killing me. So I just
you were drinking it.
Yeah, I was drinking it, and I was superwoman. And really, there's not only alcohol but sugar, and it's relatively low sugar as far as wine goes. But it's too much for me. It was too much for my body without a stomach. So I just found that even after one glass of wine, I feel that switch. There's like a switch that flips behind my eyes almost, and I can feel when my blood sugar is starting to drop now. And I would feel it when I'm drinking wine. So I'm just
worth it.
I miss it. That's the hardest thing.
You gotta listen to your body.
No,
it's
just not worth it.
Yeah, I'm not drinking anymore either. I don't know. I just don't think that it's good for us.
It's really not,
because you don't have that stomach kind of like filter it out, and it's just going like, I don't know how it processes, but I can't imagine that it's good for our liver or anything.
It's not, and it really messes with your liver function and your pancreas function, and it's not great. I've learned that I can tolerate a little bit of beer, and I don't love beer, so it's great because I'm never going to have more than one beer, maybe a half beer sometimes. But beer doesn't bother me. So it's like, okay, if I want to be social, I'll get a light beer and just kind of nurse that. But yeah, I think drinking alcohol without a stomach is actually really damaging to your body. It was not helping me at all. So I'm glad as hard as it was.
It sure makes you feel kind of funny, doesn't
it? Well, I thought I was really drunk. I thought I was becoming a lightweight. And because the signs of a blood sugar crash or the hypoglycemia, it's really similar to being drunk. Your speech is slurred. You suddenly are walking funny, and I was happy, and then I was crying, and I'm like a drunk girl in college. What am I doing? And it was Rachel who said those signs. That's hypoglycemia. You're not going to get that way off of one glass of wine with a stomach. This is massive hypoglycemia. That was the phrase she used, and it stayed in my head. It just felt so damaging to my body.
Well, thank goodness you got that all figured out.
Better to
I know.
And look at you now. And so I want to talk a little bit about your dancing.
Yeah, it's my healthy hobby. I got into I never took formal dance lessons as a child or anything. I did some other stuff, but after my separation and divorce, it was challenging for me to go to happy hours with friends or do big dinners at restaurants. I was still trying to figure out what I could eat and drink, and I just needed a healthy hobby that was physical and social, that I could do when I had energy and that I could leave when I was done. And lo and behold, salsa dancing, bachata dancing, I took a bunch of lessons for about 6 months or 8 months, and I still occasionally take some workshops. I just started, I got hooked. It's just so fun. You kind of go when you have energy and you can leave when you want. And I don't have to worry about, oh, what am I going to eat? Or, a lot of people don't drink when they're dancing, especially when you're spinning a lot. You've got to have balance and stay sober. So for me, it was a great hobby, and I also love it. And I had dabbled with all these other hobbies and I just didn't like them. So it's been about, since 2019. So whatever, I forget what year we're in now. So
That's
4 years,
incredible.
5 years.
That's so cool. Are you
I don't know.
competing?
No, I was on a performance team for a while, and we did a bunch of shows, which was insane to like dance on stage in LA and Baltimore, and like especially at my age, it was crazy. But no, I'm not on a team now, although I do miss it, and I kind of want to join another team. But it's a time commitment. Like you're practicing for several hours, a couple
You're
nights a
busy.
week.
And are you eating? Are you eating
so-
like do you halfway through? Do you have a snack, or are you just dancing for 2 hours straight?
I don't eat when I dance, but I'll drink a protein. So if I'm going social dancing, I will. My favorite thing to eat is edamame. About an hour before I go, it's got everything I need. It's got the protein, the fat, the complex carb, and it's real easy to kind of munch on slowly. Because I get the ones where you have to take it out of the pod because it just takes longer to eat. I'll do edamame, and then I might have a protein shake or a protein water before I go, and that's it. I just keep it light. And then when I get home, I do have some cheese and a carb wrap or some muesli with almond milk. There's some snacks that I can
And
eat.
how many calories do
fine.
you think that you're eating a day and protein a day? Do you track that at all?
I stopped tracking several years ago. I think for protein, I would estimate I'm doing 100 grams of protein a day. Pretty high, yeah. And I think that's about right, because I remember reading you're supposed to do like two grams of protein per each kilogram that you weigh. And I think for me, that's if you're weightlifting, and I think that's about right. I might even do more than that. But if I'm having 3 protein shakes a day, that's 90 grams of protein.
And
right
do you
there.
do that?
Do
you drink a lot of protein shakes?
Yeah.
What's your
I've already
powder
had
that
2
you
today.
use, or what brand?
And I'll probably. I like Premier Protein the best because there's 30 grams in 2 scoops. Orgain's pretty good. It's plant-based. If you want to stick with plant-based, that one's really good and it's really tasty. That one has 20 grams per serving. And there's a chocolate one that I really like. I think it's J Robb, ROBB. That one is good for travel because it mixes well with water. A lot of the other ones mix horribly with water, and maybe you can't always find almond milk if you're at an airport and you have a long layover and you want to have a shake, but you can find water. But yeah, Orgain and Premier Protein are my 2 favorites for powders. And then for grab and go, I do like the Premier Protein, and I like the Fairlife Core Power. Those are really tasty. They're so good.
So how did your body change?
Great.
Did you lose weight or after the surgery?
Yeah, I lost like 26 pounds. I gained, I'm on purpose, I gained a few pounds before the surgery. So I went in at 117. And then down to maybe it wasn't 26 pounds. I think at my lowest I was around 95 pounds. So whatever that math is, but that was like skin and bone. I'm 5'3", so I was like skin and bones. And now I think I'm 102, right around there. And it doesn't sound like much. I'm never going to get up to 117. I don't know if I can get up to 110. That was sort of my goal. But I'm really muscly. Like I feel like I'm all muscle.
Yeah,
that's like Polly's goal. She's like, I'm gonna be buff for this year.
Yes, I want to get more muscle.
I feel like I don't feel weak. I feel solid. I feel strong, which is not how I felt in the first few months of the recovery. I felt like if someone tapped my shoulder, I would tip over. Like that's how weak I was right after that.
You were throwing up,
I don't know
and not doing well.
Yeah. It's just, they told me, the doctor told me it's a bear of a recovery, and the first year is super challenging, and he was not lying.
Do you feel hungry?
So I, not the way everyone else does. I have this weird empty feeling sometimes where I know I need to eat. So I will say I feel hungry, but I don't have a stomach that growls anymore. But yeah, a lot of times I go all day and I'm like, oh, I don't think I ate today. And I don't even notice. There's like not a lot of symptoms. And that's bad. So I try not to do that.
What about your hair? Your hair looks thick to me. Did you lose any hair?
Oh, thank you for saying that. Yeah, the hair loss saga
Really?
has caused many tears in the shower.
It looks thick. It does. It looks really thick.
It's been bad. Thank you. I have some tricks and it's humid today, so it gives me a little extra volume. Yeah, I lost clumps and clumps of hair. I'll say, so surgery was November 2017, and then I had that second surgery a couple months later. By April or May of 2018, I like had this huge bald spot on the back of my head, and my forehead like was just receding. I don't know, it was just all falling out. It was uncontrollable. About a year later, my hair got thicker, like it was starting to grow in, but the ends were so damaged, it was breaking, and I ended up just cutting it all like right to about here. And from there, it's gotten better, but because I was doing all the juices to take my vitamins and drinking wine and having all the blood sugar crashes, plus I'm aging, right? There's like normal hair loss when you age. I lost a lot of hair in 2020 and 2021, like a lot. And I feel like it's getting better now. The calcium chews that Rachel Lopez told me to take, that made the biggest difference. And then I switched my shampoos around. So, and I try not to wash it more than twice a week. I think that helps. But that's been challenging.
Well, I'm glad it's starting to grow
that's
back,
a hard one.
right? It's so nice. It can be reversed.
And I started losing mine too, like you said, like the chunks. I was like in the shower, like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? And I reached out to another seahorse sister, Catherine, and she told me to use this shampoo called Olaplex, I think it's called, and my hair stopped falling out. I mean, it's like not even a strand, like nothing comes out. So I don't know.
Amazing.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I use Olaplex. I love Olaplex. Like, I do, but it wasn't helping my hair from shedding. It was keeping what hair I had like really healthy. I tried a bunch of other stuff. Right now I'm taking a vitamin called Kintsugi. I don't know if it's going to work. I take biotin. The calcium chews, I'm telling you, is like a game changer for me. And then this shampoo, Kerastase, they make a shampoo and a conditioner that actually makes your hair grow. My hair's grown 1 inch since I started using it.
How do we spell it?
Yeah. It's Kerastase, and it's blue. The bottle is blue. I'll do a post about it at some point, or I'll send you a link. But that I have not seen growth in years until this year. Well, I say this year, but I mean like in the last 6 months.
That's encouraging.
So, yeah. But you both have super long, healthy hair, so I think that
your hair's getting
that's
mine is getting long ever
since
I started using that Olaplex.
Yeah, Olaplex is the bomb. Yeah. I will always use
and
that.
you only
I'll
need
always
a
come
little
back to
tiny
Olaplex.
bit. It goes a long way.
Yeah.
Now, are you being monitored? Like, are you having blood work done or bone scans done yearly with your doctor that you had the surgery with?
No, they're not. I did get a bone density scan about a year ago, and that's because I talked to Rachel Lopez. So through the normal follow-up, I wasn't getting a lot of that. But when I talked to Rachel last year, so I remember I did a couple of blood panels early on and then nothing. And what was interesting is no one did a baseline blood panel for me before my stomach removal.
That just seems like common sense.
No one, And if they did, then the doctors either don't have it or didn't tell me, because somewhere early on, they told me I had a problem with my liver function after my stomach was removed. And I kind of panicked about it, because it was like, I just thought, gosh, I made the wrong decision. All these things are happening. What's wrong with my liver? And I underwent a liver biopsy, which was super painful, actually. And they're like, yeah, they asked me if I was an alcoholic. I'm like, no, I'm not. And I had given up alcohol for about a year, like after the surgery. And then they said, oh, it's actually not that bad. Don't worry about it. And I said, well, what was it before my stomach removal? And they said, we have nothing in your records to tell us. So there was no baseline. So I have this mysterious liver issue, which is another reason I was like, all right, I'm done with wine. Like it's fine. I'm old, I've had plenty of drinking days.
Old,
I'm
though.
good. It's okay. It's like,
If you're old, we're all in trouble.
well, well, I mean, I have a cousin who had her stomach removed at like 20,
Right.
before the legal drinking age even. So I feel like I've done a lot of living, and there's things that I might miss, but at least I've gotten to experience them for whatever they were worth. So, but I don't know if I answered your question. Oh yeah, so the blood panel. So I did do one about a year ago, and I did have a DEXA scan a year ago, a little less than a year ago. And my bone density loss evidently was very minimal and super normal for someone my age, which is good. It wasn't like
really good.
beyond.
Good.
It
It's
wasn't
from all the
anything.
weightlifting, I bet. Probably. Yeah.
I think it helps. It definitely helps keep your bones strong. So
How
highly
often
recommend
are you working
weightlifting.
out?
Every day. I lift 3 or 4 days a week, and then the other days I'll run, but not too far, like 4 miles, or do yoga, and I dance really a couple nights a week.
I saw you got those 25-pound dumbbells. I got some for Christmas too.
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
You work out.
Yeah.
You do your Peloton workouts, right? With the weights? Yeah, those are awesome. Yeah, my fiance got me the dumbbells. He knows the weight of my heart. So yeah. That's why I'm like, I've lived so much. It's like, it's all okay if I give up wine. Yeah, I got engaged last year to a really wonderful man who is also a cancer survivor. Was totally not expecting to find love. I actually tried dating without a stomach in the beginning, and it was challenging because it was all like, oh, let's meet for a drink or let's meet for food, and it was just so complicated. So I kind of just stopped. But he's an old acquaintance who I had run into again a few years back, and he's great. His name is Martin.
So
he's
happy.
Great.
Good.
Thank you. Thank you.
When did they what did your pathology report show?
Right. Yeah.
I had early stages of cancer. I forget the name.
Signet ring?
It's not ring or sing. I forget what something like, yes, signet ring. I had early stages of cancer, and so did my brother, actually. So they take out your stomach, and for me, they sent my stomach to like Sloan Kettering or something to be fully examined. And I got back the results several weeks later, and they said, yeah, you had early stages of cancer. Because this cancer starts all spread out. It doesn't start with a tumor. And that was one thing we learned with my mom, because she had been getting endoscopies because her sister had died of stomach cancer. She had a clean endoscopy 10 months before her stage 4 diagnosis. 10 months. And we couldn't, did the doctors miss it? There were all these questions, and we learned later there's never a tumor with this type of cancer. There's never a tumor. It's just, it's diffuse. It starts all spread out, and it's really minuscule. It's everywhere, but it's so minuscule. See, it's just not.
It's like a needle in a haystack, trying to find it with endoscopy.
It does.
And it's in the layers, so you can't really see it in there.
Exactly. So all that screening, it for me, I realized, oh gosh, this would not. It didn't catch it for my mom. It might not catch it for me. or my brother.
Yeah, and it sounds like you guys have an extensive family history of gastric cancer. I mean, before your mom had passed, did you guys recognize that? Had you guys talked about that, or were you guys aware of that gastric cancer in your family? Did you piece it?
Not really. I had my dad do a family tree after she died. And I think even more so after I went to Lebanon in September of 2016 and talked to all these relatives and realized so many of my cousins had died of stomach cancer, which I had heard that, you know, somebody died, but the medical communication is different there, and we weren't always told like what the reason was. But in talking to the family, it's like everybody had stomach cancer. So yeah, there were probably 30 people on my mom's side of the family going back 3 or 4 generations
that sounds
died
like
of
more than
stomach
50%.
Cancer.
I mean, I don't know how big your families were, but that's a lot of people.
Bad.
Do they do stomach removal in Lebanon? Like, do you have cousins in Lebanon or family members that have had their stomachs removed?
I have family there, and I don't think anyone's had their stomach removed. And this is another area where I've just gotten perspective. Originally, I wanted all my cousins to go get their stomachs removed. I was like, you have to do this. It'll save your life. And I don't want you, you know, to die the way, you know, your mom did or my mom did. But now I realize it's not an easy life, and it does require a lot of maintenance. And the stuff I eat is specialty, and it's expensive, and not everybody, you know, it's not for everybody. And so I respect that some of my family probably will not do that. And I do think it's like a personal choice. It's a tough one. But at first I was like, everybody has to get this done. I was like the crazy American telling all my Lebanese cousins to remove their body parts. And they're like, what are you talking about? You know, and I'm like, you can't even eat my bread. And they're like, what? And it's just, they're like, yeah. So, yeah, so I am supposed to be monitoring for breast cancer now. I do a biannual mammo, like alternating with an MRI. But I think this year I want to focus on that a little bit more and really figure out what I want to do. I don't really want another surgery, and I know, Paula, you've done all of it already, and it's so brave. I'm in admiration of that. I'm scared, honestly, to go through another huge surgery. Do you have
family history of the lobular breast cancer?
Yeah, so my mom actually had breast cancer, but it was many years. I was in law school. It was like around 1998. It was way before she got stomach cancer. They caught it at stage 0. She did really early. She did radiation, and she was fine. We never thought twice about it because no one else in the family had ever had breast cancer. And now I realize, you know, in talking to the genetic counselors at Kaiser, that's probably why she got the breast cancer, because she had the gene. She never got tested, right? It wasn't available. So it's kind of weighing heavy on me. Like, I need to figure out what to do and what approach to take. And I don't know. I just really don't want another big surgery
right now?
Yeah.
And the
MRI
is hard to detect too, just like the signet ring cells. It's diffuse also. So those screening methods, not to scare you or anything, but just so you know.
You're right. No, and I know that. And so I don't know if it's the same for everybody. When I first got my genetic results back, they told me my chance of stomach cancer was 86%, and it's like super deadly, right? So it was like really high chance of stomach cancer. And then my percentage for breast cancer, I think, was like 56%. And so the stomach was the more urgent risk that I had to address. And that was what I did. And then it was so hard, and all this time went by, and I kind of forgot about my boobs. And this past year or two, at Kaiser, they're pretty good anyway with mammograms and screening. So like, I've been trying to stay on top of those, and I got delayed with the pandemic. I missed a few screenings, but I'm trying to catch up. But it's a 56% chance, and I don't know. I mean, those aren't great odds, but are they any different from the average woman? I don't know.
That's pretty high. 56% is, I don't think the average woman.
I think it's funny.
It's way lower, isn't it? Like 3% or something.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know though.
For real?
Don't mark my words.
Oh, wow. You know, isn't it crazy that 56% seems
I
low?
know,
It's like when you're
it's
told you have an
true.
86%.
But really, it's just a flip of a
stomach
coin,
cancer.
really.
I'm like, oh.
Yeah, Taylor's in the same boat as you.
I know.
She goes back and forth on the mastectomy, but really, girls, it's not that bad. I mean, it's a big surgery. It's
Really?
painful. It is painful, but you know, I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Right.
It's done.
Yeah. The ability to not worry is the one thing that like I feel so good about with my stomach. And I know that feeling, like to have that also with the breast cancer risk would be a good thing at the end. I am due, you know, years ago I had implants put in, you know, like a lot of young women did. And they're kind of due to be to come out or be replaced or whatever. So I think as part of evaluating that, I want to also make the mastectomy decision. So I got to kind of figure some stuff out there. And
Definitely a personal decision.
I don't know.
It's
Just
hard.
It's a very
don't look
personal
forward to it.
decision that you need to come.
I know. I've scheduled mine twice and canceled twice. So yeah.
Oh,
I have
wow.
2 little kids though, and I'm like, they're always wanting me to pick them up, and I'm like, I just am not ready to do it yet. I gotta wait a little bit.
I hear you. Yeah, it's limiting. Like you can't drive for a while.
Know,
It's hard to get groceries
and I'm active. I can't imagine not being
Yeah.
able to lift weights for, I don't know, how long is it? 6 weeks? Like that freaks me out. And
It goes by fast though.
yeah,
Look at me. I'm lifting heavier
Yeah.
than ever now.
I know. It's true.
So
It's true.
Yay! That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like the younger you are, the easier the recovery. So I
Yeah.
also think about that too. I mean, do I want to do this
And
10
you
more
don't
years when I'm
I'm gonna
turning
have to do
60?
chemo,
Like,
you know.
probably not.
Like,
Yeah, that would be worse. So it is something I want to pay attention to for 2023. It's on my intentions list to
good.
figure out a plan for that.
I think Nancy said that anything above 30%
Is
is
high.
considered high risk.
Yeah.
It said
And Kelly says 6 weeks was
Okay,
very
yeah.
fast. So.
Super fast. Yeah. I remember 6 weeks, just from even when I got the implants done when I was younger. I mean, of course I was perfectly healthy otherwise, and that kind of flew by. But it's a different, that's a completely different surgery, right? Like just getting implants versus a mastectomy is like night and day
But
on
I think
what your body
like
is going
Polly
through
had
at that
implants,
point.
I have implants, you have implants. I think that we are almost one up from other people who don't because we already have that pocket. So they don't necessarily have to do the
except for my
expanders.
doctor did. My doctor did a horrible job on me. But
And
anyway.
she didn't need the expanders. So that's like one of the things I've heard hurts the worst. So if you already have that pocket, you don't necessarily need the expander, which is a plus.
Yeah. I have, I've got several really good girlfriends who have battled breast cancer in the last 2 years, and they're and another friend who did a preventative double mastectomy, and their stories on whether it went well or not, or needed an expander or not, are so diverse. It's as vast as my brother's recovery compared to mine. So I don't know. That's the other thing. I'm scared about having another terrible recovery. I seem to not have good recovery.
Sure.
Yeah.
I know. It's so much.
It's all about the
sure,
doctor.
for sure.
You got to make sure you got a good doctor. I mean, I'm not saying that about your gastrectomy, but about the breast.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
No, I mean, it's important to trust your doctor and have faith, because so much is out of your control. And you have to accept that a lot of it's out of your control. But if you at least have some trust in your medical team and some overall faith in God or the universe or whatever you may believe in, it helps, because we're like not in control most of the time when this stuff is happening.
You can't have expectations.
So,
You just
definitely
have to
finding a good
Kind of go with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also be your own advocate.
Ask a lot of questions. And I'm so glad when the NIH called asking for my medical records, I was like, and by the way, do you have a nutritionist that I can talk to?
Yeah.
Changed my life. And she called me. We set something up the next week. It was so you definitely have to advocate for yourself, trust your body, and ask questions for sure.
Well, those are very good words of wisdom. Do you have anything else you want to leave us with? Any advice or wisdom that you have for anybody?
I think I just want to say, for me, the recovery process is evolving. It's ever evolving. And I'm constantly surprised at what my body can do, even 5 years out. So for anyone, you know, newly recovering, however you feel today might not be how you're going to feel next week or in a year or, you know, in 2 years. And things kind of ebb and flow, and just trust yourself. If something's definitely off, trust yourself, but also be patient with yourself. It's a big deal to recover from. So patience is good. And I want people to feel hope that you can come out of it and be healthy and strong and enjoy your life and go dance on stage somewhere.
Our cousin just joined, and those are great words of advice for her. She struggled a lot in the beginning, but she's over that hump, and she had patience, and it paid off. So, yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
You
Well,
too.
I'm wishing everyone a happy
Melissa.
new year.
You
And
too.
It's so good to
recovery.
finally meet you
Yes.
and talk to you.
It's wonderful to meet you. I really wish you two were around when I was first going through my journey. I really think you are doing such a wonderful service to people really going through something rare and unique and very hard. So
thank
you
you.
for everything
That's
you're
all
doing.
we're hoping for.
Really
And thank you for sharing all your stuff too.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We appreciate you so much.
anytime.
Thanks, Melissa.
Have a
Here.
good rest of
All
your
right.
day.
Take care.